What is up, first gen people, and welcome back to the channel. So hopefully today you guys clicked on this because, well, we're gonna be working on first gens, and it's not particularly my first gen, but one that we've already worked on. You've already seen videos over this. We did some random body panel swapping and stuff. We went and helped Chase snag a first gen. This is his first truck. He is one that is willing to get his hands dirty, work on it himself. As you guys seen in the last video, you guys even mentioned that. So we are going back down to see Chase because he's got some upgrades he wants to do. So he ended up making an order from the Hungry Diesel. He's got a fuel pen, governor spring. We're gonna tune his pump, the whole 9 yards. So this is gonna be one you want to stick around for. Right now it's the night before. I am gathering up tools so I can load up my stuff, go down there and visit him, and hopefully get this thing running well. I'm going to show you guys how to do a lot of this stuff, so do pay attention. Don't be that guy that buries your smoke screw and buries your star wheel on your first gen. Just don't be him. Know how to tune a pump, research about it, know how a VE pump works so you can tune it correctly. And yeah, try and be like some of the good first gen owners out there. There's only about 30 of us, so hopefully you guys are them. So we're gonna pack up our tools and see you guys in the morning. It ought to be good. Hopefully you're excited, so we'll be back. Alright guys, so we've got some of the stuff laid out. He went ahead and ordered the silver spring, which will help tuning wise, get some more preload. And then we got a 3200 RPM governor spring and a THD fuel pen. So you can already see we're gonna have lots of tuning to do. There will be lots of improvements. The star wheel is just buried. Tamper-proof screws on the throttle stop, and the fuel screw's been turned up. It's definitely been messed with, and the timing, it almost looks like they retarded it a bit, but it's hard to tell. But we're probably also gonna have to mess with that idle screw, which is also kind of a pain, but it won't be too bad. So it's gonna be a VE pump lesson for most of you guys here. Because honestly, when most of you guys buy trucks, your pump probably looks like this, because people probably think this is how you turn up the fuel, because whenever you turn this up, there's more smoke, and that's not technically the truth. So very first thing we're going to do is pull this AFC top off and take a look at some things. And then we're going to try and get this tamper-proof piece off. I've never had to mess with one of these, but surely it's got to come off fairly easy. And then we'll dive into doing the fuel screw. And we're going to probably use our shut off right up here. So we're going to use a 2x4 or a clipboard or something of that sort to kill it in case we run away. But this is an intercooled truck, so I really don't expect it to run away. If it had a non-intercooled pump on it, then I'd be a little bit more worried. But again, you guys know I've been through my fair share of runaways, so it's not that big of a deal. Alright guys, so we're to right here. Obviously I took this part of the linkage, just snapped it off, and we took the bigger bolt off and took our other piece off. But now the next thing I did obviously is take a picture of the indexing right here, because you're going to need to remember that whenever you put it all back together. So go ahead and take a picture of that before you take it all apart. Obviously I'm going to address the fuel screw and all that after I do the governor spring. So right now we're taking all this assembly up top off so I can access all these bolts. But before I take these bolts out, I'm going to take the fuel screw and I'm going to thread it all the way out, and I'm going to take it either all the way out or just barely out, because you can break the fuel screw if you do not do this. Some don't think that's true. I've encountered otherwise, and once we get the pump top off, we will also address these tamper-proof stuff, because it'll be easier to get to out here. So that's your next steps. All right, guys, so as you saw right there, we've got the governor spring out, and I believe this one reads 388, which that's right, because I think that spring we're putting in is a 366, which is a 3200 spring. So here's a stock spring from what I gather. It's very stretchy, obviously, compared to the others. I just pulled the whole indexing shaft out. Others do it different ways. I could have just unhooked it. The main deal you guys want to worry about whenever you're doing this, you guys can kind of see as soon as I started lifting that top hat, I stuck my my pointer finger in there to press on something, and that would be this little top hat right here. It's gonna be hard to see. It's a little top hat and it is spring loaded. And if you pull that thing out of there without your finger on it, it's gonna fly somewhere and you will never find it. And it will be fun trying to find it as a part somewhere. I believe if that tends to happen, or it does happen, you can call Eric at the Hungry Diesel, and I'm pretty sure he can get you fitted up with another one. Or if you have a VE parts pump, you should be good. But this top hat, very, very important piece. This is what the governor spring connects to. If you lose it, you're screwed. So we got this all out. All I'm going to do is swap the springs out. I'm really not going to go into much depth. I don't mess with anything down in the pump. I leave that to the pros, such as Evan. And so if you want your pump done, more than just a fuel pin and governor spring, you need to send it to Evan at Ratman Performance, because he is the hookup for that. But I'm going to get you guys off the stand, give you an up-close look at what's going on here, and then hopefully give you guys a better look at the install so you really understand and grasp what to do once you're in here. In my opinion, the harder part's done. Really getting all the stuff out without losing anything is a big deal. And now you're just hooking the new spring on, putting everything back together. But we will get you a better look here. All right, guys, so we are letting the camera battery charge up, so I'm on my phone here. I apologize in advance. But we got the pump top on. We have not re-indexed it. We are all connected in there. We're good to go. I took it off because I wasn't sure. But next thing I'm going to mess with before I get to anything else, I'm going to go ahead and take this throttle stop screw all the way out. This is not needed, in my personal opinion. All it is preventing you from getting full throttle travel. So we're going to pull this screw out completely. There's no need for it. And then we're going to put the fuel screw back in and all the other stuff to go on the pump top so we can get it all back together, so we can eventually put our AFC spring in, our fuel pin, and assemble it. And then we can start adjusting with the fuel screw, and then we'll go out, street drive it. And then we're going to do some tuning to get the most out of it we can. Since this truck is basically a stock, it's all stock truck for the most part, as far as I know. But this exhaust housing, I'm going to assume it's an 18.5 cm exhaust housing, since it's a manual truck. That's going to be the first thing that would want to be upgraded. You'd want to get to like a 12 cm. Shouldn't see any crazy EGTs, but with the smaller exhaust housing, you will see in my opinion, you will see a higher peak power number, just swap for swap, as of like a setup just like this, because you will get to peak power sooner, and the sooner you get to peak power, the more fueling you have down low, and you got to use all the down low fueling you have on these. So obviously lower RPM, more CC output. The more CC output means more horsepower. So that's my theory on that. After this could be modified. I would not hesitate at all to go to like a 60 millimeter up on the compressor, and a 67 turbine, and a 12 cm exhaust. So a 60, 67, 12 would be fine for this. I'm not a huge fan of that gated 12 housing, but on an application like this, it's perfectly fine because there's not a lot done to it. It would run very clean, and that's kind of what we're after here. So we're going to tune this thing as well as we can. As you guys saw, our smoke screw here is buried, and there was no AFC spring in this thing at all. So we should see a huge difference in the tuning and smoke output. Before, it was fairly smoky, right, Chase? Oh, yeah. So it was fairly smoky whenever it shouldn't have been for being mainly stock. The fuel screw was turned up some, but not enough to be as smoky as it was. So basically it had a non-functioning AFC before. So it should come up on boost a little bit different, and it should go to a much better RPM now with this 3200 spring. So like what I said earlier, I'm gonna get to doing that, and then I will kind of show you guys what we're gonna be moving on to. All right guys, so we've got everything back together. Our linkage is good and snappy. I've got it put back to the indexing marks that were the same index marks that it was on before I took it apart, so it should be good. If we have to change that, then I'll have to take this little linkage back off and turn the shaft just a little bit and change it to the next mark. But we got our fuel shutoff stuff hooked back up. I always forget about this stuff, so if you guys go to fire up your truck and it just cranks and it seems like there's no fuel, it's probably because you don't have one of these connected, and that's a very, very high chance. So next, we got our AFC spring put in. I might just leave the star wheel where it's at for now, and then we will change it whenever we do all the tuning. But right now we just want to get it started up, so we're going to put it all back together, hook up the linkages, which is pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to do. And heck, this just sits back on there, just like that. And then we're going to put the top on, put our new pin on, which is also very self-explanatory. All you do is take the nut off of this and swap the pin out. If yours has a plastic washer on it, like most stock ones will, just go ahead and take that off because the aftermarket one does not need it. So that's what we're up to next. I hope they'll be able to see me. Yeah. All right, guys. So I lied on adjusting the star wheel. We adjusted it a little bit because there was absolutely zero preload on the fuel pin, and we want some preload in there so we don't get any no boost fuel. So that's what that controls. At 0 pounds of boost, I quite frankly don't want it dumping fuel because it's not needed. That's where all that excess smoke comes from. And we backed out our smoke screw. It's flush with the inside. I'm not going to grind this part down today. This truck probably doesn't need it. It should run clean enough, but we're already going to see a huge difference just in having an AFC spring. It had a not functioning AFC before, so AFC spring, we got some preload on it, backed out our smoke screw. Now we're going to assemble it, and we're going to probably have to crack injection lines, get this thing fired up, and hopefully it won't run away. If it does, oh well, we got a 2x4. We already got the intake horn, or yeah, we already got it unbolted right there, so we'll be fine. But yeah, that's what we're going to do next. There is no lock nut on this thing because they buried it the first time, so I'm going to try and see if I have one in my toolbox, but if not, this thing's pretty tight in there anyway. But we're gonna start putting this back together. All right guys, so we have made it to the point where we are ready to try and fire the truck. I got my little idle adjusting pick here, which if you guys have not seen this, go watch Decent First Gen or Decent Garage. I forget which one. He has a little clip showing that this actually is very easy to use compared to other stuff for adjusting your idle. Not sure if I'll need it, but I've also got my board where I can cover up my intake if it decides to run away. Again, I went ahead and just buried the screw because I don't really give a damn if it runs away because we're gonna get it shut down. But yeah, so I kind of primed the little diaphragm lift pump, and hopefully I don't have to crack lines. If I have to crack injector lines, it's at 17 mil. It's not a big deal at all. But next, we're probably gonna crack this garage door because it could get smoky. And yeah, that's about all the advice I got. Have a handy board, and once it's starting and running, and if it runs good, we'll be off to on the road so we can tune it. So without further ado, let's attempt this. Yeah, go ahead and crack the door. Always get a good angle where you can kind of get a good grasp on it and cover it up. Everything checks out, all of it looks good, so we should be all right. Make sure it's in neutral so I don't die.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. Pretty high. Yeah, I'm gonna back the idle off. All right, guys. So as you saw right there, no runaway, but the idle is, I would say 50. I don't know if it's quite 100 RPM too high, but we're gonna back the throttle down with our little tool, just like I showed you guys. The screw is buried, that's as far as it will go. So if he wanted to go any farther, he'd have to get the hot screw, but in this case, it's not really needed. But yeah, so another instance where an intercooled pump just doesn't run away with the stock fuel screw. So just as I expected, that was the case. And we're gonna turn the idle down a little bit, because with the manual, if you pop the throttle in neutral or something, we don't want it to hang or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next. And then we should be ready for some street driving and tuning. And that's the fun part. That's where I'm gonna teach you guys most of this and how to correctly and properly tune your VE. All right, guys, forget, Chase has the luxury of a factory tack, asshole. He said it was sitting right about 1,000 RPM. That's a no-no. We want it, I don't know. Automatic and manuals are different. So if I have an automatic, I want it to be with the AC on and in gear, probably like 850, somewhere in there.
I think it's usually about 750, 800.
So before we did this, it was 750, 800. Yeah. So turning up the fuel screw, it had, I would say we turned it up a full turn compared to where it was. It was buried before, but not quite where we've taken it. So we're gonna try and get it back down to around 800. With it being a manual, it's not that big of a deal, but I forget he has a factory tack, so we're gonna tune it right off that. All right, let's give her a shot. I bet it's too low this time.
Ready?
Yep. Guys, so right now we're going on our test drive, and basically I'm going to do some on-road tuning. The tools I brought right here, 13 mil, a 12 mil on an S wrench, a flathead, and the star wheel adjuster. So our first little drive here, we're going to see how the smoke output is. If I hit it right on the money, then great, but I would bet not. I don't know what preload we're at on the star wheel. So we're gonna see what our output is, what we need to do better, all that good stuff. So I will be showing you guys clips and what adjustments I make. Feel better?
Yeah, a lot better.
That was awful. All right, guys, so as you could see, that was actually cleaning up as it should. There was a slight haze at the end. It was still a little smoky down low, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the slight haze at the end is exactly where we want it. Got over here to go shut it off because obviously I'm gonna tweak the star wheel, and it wouldn't shut off. So about 2 minutes into turned up pump and chill, and I think we got a fuel shut off solenoid with the rubber ripped off the end of it because she's got all the horse torques now. So yeah, a solid brass fuel shut-off solenoid is going to be the ticket. I killed it with the fuel shut-off lever on the side of the pump, but what I'm going to do now is tweak the star wheel, and we're just going to have to do that first. All right, guys, round two. So my synopsis there, we weren't getting all the way deep into the fuel curve of the pin, so I'm adjusted everything, and we're gonna try it again, and it still won't shut off, so that's good.
Ready?
Yep. I bet it won't. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. All right, yeah, I can kind of see this. Yeah, that'll work. That feels better. Clean, real clean. That's what I'm talking about. That's even better there. Alright guys, so we're going to take this pump top off and take a look at where our pin is traveling. Yeah, you're rolling. Anytime I push on this thing,
Am I?
you roll. And I'm going to keep pushing on it, so I would put something. Alright, so take our AFC top back off. She's a little warm, beat on her pretty good, but it's cleaning up top really good. I just want to make sure we're getting where we need to be in the curve. Or it's coming on up on boost. If you are really just flogging it, it's pretty dirty. So if you want it to be dirty, it can. If you want it to be clean and not smoke at all, pretty much you just got to keep it in the higher RPMs and shift right. And that's the, like the, I don't know, that's the good part about a manual. You can kind of control a lot more. With a bigger turbo, or whenever you're making more boost, there's a lot different adjustment. Right now, the star wheel, I had to go down with it. So it just really depends. Because with the bigger turbo, I'd bring it up a whole bunch. Let's take a look here. That's better. I feel like we're still not quite all the way there. But all right, so you guys can kind of see the line. I'll get you a light here. So you can see the line going into the curve there. And we're just basically right in the deep part. You could probably go a little bit more, but not a whole lot. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to turn the star wheel probably, just a couple more clicks.
It's not focusing.
No, it's not. There we go. Turning a couple more. And I still want some preload on that. That's pretty decent there. But that should, hopefully it stays somewhat clean, because we don't want just a smoky, useless truck at this point, because that's what it was before. So that hopefully might be our last adjustment. I still don't want to take the star wheel. I want to leave it out because it just doesn't need to be there. But we still have a little bit of preload on the spring. I would like to have more, but yeah, we got it about as good as we can. So I don't know, probably need to test drive it one more time and we'll find out how clean it is. What was that? What was that, third gear or fourth gear?
That was fourth.
Fourth gear full, so that was a direct drive. Yes, so much better. Alright guys, so our final run on Chase's truck. I'm going to see if I can set this down and try and get this thing to focus. Come on.
I guess I'll run over next door in a little bit and get a wire to that hoe.
Alright, so you guys can see we're getting to the very deep part of the pin. We are finally got our preload set right, smoke screws set right, fuel screws maxed. So this is, as you guys saw in the videos, it runs clean. You can flog it if you want it to. It'll black out an intersection still. But if you're shifting in the right RPM range, honestly, it's going to be really clean. And you're getting the most power out of it as we can. So we left the timing stock here, put an silver AFC spring in, which is a little bit stiffer, so it makes for a cleaner running truck. THD fuel pin, 3200 RPM governor spring, like I said, stock timing, and it runs pretty good. It's much better now. Definitely will cruise better on the highway and whatnot, just because you're able to get up to that higher RPM or easier. And you definitely should have better fuel economy with a working AFC and a tuned pump. So I would like to bump the timing, but it doesn't have head studs and I'm not chancing it. So we're just gonna leave it stock, and the fuel shutoff solenoid shit the bed on us, so it's gonna need a new fuel shutoff solenoid for now. He's gonna run a cable to the mechanical shutoff to the cab so he can shut it off, but definitely a brass fuel shutoff solenoid will be in store. But that's gonna wrap this one up. So the truck runs good, happy with it. All right guys, so we made it back to the house. I want to give a short outro on, even if some of you guys even make it this far, most people don't even watch this far, so here's my input on the tuning of this truck and how it came out. Some of this might not, this tuning might not be up to par for some of you guys. Some of you guys might think it still smokes too much or something of that sort, so you'll back the fuel screw out. Personally, I'm burying the screw no matter what, because that controls overall CC output of the pump, and overall CC output affects total horsepower of basically output, total horsepower output. So I am burying the fuel screw every time, and I'm tuning the pump accordingly. On that truck, if you drive it the way you should and don't lug it and things like that, it could be damn near smoke free. As some of you guys in some of those videos you saw, there's a little puff and then it just cleaned up. And I mean, you want a solid haze at full throttle, at wide open throttle. So there was still a slight haze at wide open throttle. That's what we wanted. But if you lugged it, yeah, it would blow a lot of smoke. But that was just third, fourth gear, really low RPM and foot to the floor. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of smoke in that situation. But I tuned that truck to the best of my abilities, what I thought was the best. It ran much better every time that I adjusted it. So I'm very happy with it. We finally got it to where it was fueling in the deep part of the fuel pin and the curve. So that turned out good. But yeah, I just wanted to give that little tidbit there, because some of you guys are gonna say, well, that's still too much smoke for me. Well, then great. So, I mean, sacrifice some horsepower and turn down the fuel screw. That's all I can really tell you, because this is about as good as it gets on a mechanical truck. I think it would be cleaner if there was a bigger turbo. I think we are we're definitely turbo limited at this point. Right now, you're also clutch limited, head gasket limited, and that's about it. Because really, if all that stuff was done, I would be putting on a 12 cm housing on that Charger with a 67mm turbine wheel, or just going ahead and buying an HX35 or an HE351 with a 67mm turbine wheel. I'd have a 60-67-9 or 60-67-12, either one is what I would do next, and that would take care of all the smoke. It would have great EGT control. The only thing that I could have dialed in more was if I had a EGT gauge and boost. There you can kind of dial in a little bit more. You can see at a certain point if the fuel's doing you any good, or if you're just pissing it down the drain. So like I said, I'm very happy with how it turned out. He's very happy, and yeah, that's about it. So hopefully this kind of gives you guys an idea on how to tune your VE pump trucks. And yeah, if you have any questions at all, always feel free to comment the question. Message me on Instagram at Forged1Gen, or on Facebook at Gavin Huke. You guys all know who I am. Feel free to message me if you need. If you disagreed with something, go ahead and put it in the comments. Tell me why. And if I have to, I'll tell you why you're wrong. But most of you guys know what you're talking about. You know why we tune trucks like this, why we aren't ignorant and bury the fuel screw, or not the fuel screw, that's what I did. Bury the smoke screw, because before I even touched this truck, it was just you would think that this thing had monster injectors in it and no air at all. And in all reality, it was just not a functioning AFC, and the smoke screw was buried, and it was a bone stock truck. It was pitiful. So people always think more smoke means more power. That is not the case. and some of those really high horsepower applications like pulling trucks and stuff, that's not even an argument. If you bring that up, you probably don't know diesels. That's just is what it is. So we got this truck running clean. Right now he could go hook up to a trailer and pull whatever and not worry about EGTs at all or anything like that. If he got the hot screw, I would be worried about EGTs. You could turn it up more, and really, at that point, you really need more air. So I gave my 2 cents. That's what I think about it. I had a good time. It's fun getting to touch a VE truck every once in a while. Since mine is still sitting here, you can see it. It's right there on the table because mine's not back together yet. But again, if you guys love first gen content, that's literally majority of what I do. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, click the little bell for the notifications. Hit the like button if you like the video. I mean, I try and help you guys as much as I can. And if you found it useless, I apologize. Maybe I can do better next time. But there will be tons more first gen content, and this thing is going to be a lot rowdier than a stock truck. So I will be able to show you guys what all we do with that and how we tune it. And we're going to make this thing as clean running as we can while making good power. So that's the deal. I'm going to get on out of here. So for this time on the Old School Crew, we will see you guys next time. I'm going to get to working on my own truck and probably make another video out of that. So we'll see you guys. Keep kicking it old school and have a good one. Peace.